Howdy, I'm Mitchell Whittington from the VisitJefferson.com YouTube channel. I started making Visit Jefferson videos, a couple of years ago. My thought was that I would showcase some of the more charming things about this wonderful old city of Jefferson. And if you look at the channel, there are videos about everything from the historic Carnegie Library to Bigfoot to the supposed secret underground tunnels that run beneath the city. But at one point, however, it became clear that I had ignored one very important element about Jefferson, and that's the story of the city itself. Now, Jefferson was founded in the early to mid 1800s. When exactly? Well, that one's up for debate. For the longest time, if you approached Jefferson from the west, you'd see a wooden Texas Highway Department sign saying, Jefferson, founded in 1836. On the other hand, if you came to town from the east, there was a Texas historical marker stating that you were in Jefferson, founded in 1843. If you Google the question, when was Jefferson, Texas founded, you'll get the answer, 1841. Here's a screenshot of when I did the search. On the other hand, if you consult Wikipedia, you'll get a less than specific answer of around 1841, as you see in this screenshot. I think all the confusion comes from the different benchmarks that people use for the founding of the city, such as when a settlement was first established on the northern side of Big Cypress Bayou, where a ferry took people across the river, or the opening of the first post office, maybe even the actual incorporation of the city itself, and so forth. I'll leave it to the scholars to argue the minutiae. Suffice it to say that the city got its start somewhere around 1840, give or take a few years. The city of Jefferson is deceptively interesting. Now, what I mean by that is that at a glance, a traveler on Highway 59, the main artery through town, might notice only a few gas stations, a fast food establishment or two, and a motel. All very common sights along the nation's busiest border-to-border route. Unless you happen to stop at the traffic light, a person might never give the place a second glance, and even then, there's really nothing special there to see at that intersection. This happens literally thousands of times every day. People pass through our little town without a clue to the fact that over 100 years ago, Jefferson was a hustling, bustling riverport town, and in fact, it was set to become one of the largest cities in the entire Lone Star State. Jefferson was a place where steamboats traveling from New Orleans and Shreveport landed. They would dock at the turning basin, bringing goods from back east and travelers wanting to begin their new lives in the frontier state of Texas. It was the endpoint of a steamboat route, in fact, that began in New Orleans. Once unloaded, the boats would back up, turn around, and start their journey back downriver. All this was because there was a log jam on the Red River that they called the Great Raft. It was over 100 miles long, impassable, and impenetrable. As the steamboats came up from New Orleans, they would take the Mississippi River until its confluence with the Red River. They'd then take the Red across the state of Louisiana, and before they got to the Great Raft, they would take a river called 12 Mile Bayou, and it took them straight to Caddo Lake. The boats would cross Caddo Lake and finally pick up the Big Cypress River and come directly into Jefferson. Steamboats docked in Jefferson almost every day. As Jefferson grew, there were parts of town that had the culture and refinery of some of the country's finest cities, while in other areas there was a much seedier side to the riverport. In the historic Jefferson downtown area, buildings that now house delightful antique stores and bountiful boutiques were once saloons and dance halls and, worse, things I can't even mention here. It was a rough place. In a particularly notorious area called Murder Alley, it is said that there was always a dead body to be found when the sun came up in the morning. Is that true? I don't know. But it's certainly a Jefferson legend. This photo is Murder Alley today, a quiet, vacant lot on the north side of the river. The buildings from 150 plus years ago are long gone, as is any semblance of a street. The area once known as Murder Alley is now a peaceful plot of land. While the projections as to the population of the city back in its heyday vary widely, it's likely at that point there were about 10 to 12,000 citizens. That's not a lot by our standards today, of course, but In those days, it was a thriving metropolis. In fact, it was much larger than any of Texas' smaller cities like Dallas or Fort Worth. In fact, it was the second largest water port for the state, second only to Galveston. When the Civil War tore America apart, Jefferson became a key shipping point for supplies and munitions for the Confederate troops. The city had a meat packing plant, a hat factory, a boot factory, and a candle factory. Munitions manufactured 15 miles away in Marshall, Texas, were also shipped out of Jefferson. Thankfully, the ravages of the Civil War never reached the city. Union troops headed for Texas were turned around at the Battle of Mansfield, Louisiana on April 8, 1864, during the Red River Campaign. Had the Union troops won the day, they would have proceeded to Shreveport and then on to Texas. Jefferson could have easily been put to the torch, like Alexandria, Louisiana was. Although Jefferson escaped destruction in the Civil War, it did not escape Reconstruction. In the Reconstruction era that followed the war, the city was occupied by Union troops and was a scene of upheaval and unrest. Still, the town on Big Cypress Bayou weathered the storm and prospered. A series of events was slowly taking place that would steal away Jefferson's thunder. The Great Raft was being cleared from the Red River by a man named Captain Shreve. The town of Shreveport is named in his honor. Yeah, he was the first one to actually clear a passageway through the raft itself, and in the process, all the waters fell. Caddo Lake fell by 10 to 12 feet, and our river went down to where you see it today. Jefferson was no longer accessible by steamboat. The bustling city with so much promise would find itself with a mere shadow of the potential that it once had. As a result, the townspeople moved away in droves, leaving only a fraction of its original population. Many of the people who remained relied on cotton farming to survive. Businesses were closed down, the magnificent old homes were boarded up, and the town began to wither. Thankfully, that's not the end of the story. Through the vision of those who continued to make Jefferson their home, the city rose again like a phoenix from the ashes. While there were no more steamboats, smaller industries, such as logging, began to take an interest in the town. In fact, you'll still see log trucks passing through town today. Some of the real heroes were the ladies of the Jesse Allen Wise Garden Club, whose spring Dogwood Trail eventually morphed into Jefferson's historic pilgrimage, which I'll be covering in another video. They really turned the town around, though. The rough and rowdy riverfront was turned into a beautiful, well-preserved downtown district. Old homes were restored to their original glory and were awarded both state and national historical markers. People began to come to visit. Word spread about this quaint little East Texas town, and visitors flocked to stay in the bed and breakfast inns to take in the history and beauty of the town. Festivals such as Mardi Gras, Pilgrimage, and Candlelight attracted many more, and the B&Bs thrived. Today, Jefferson has been designated by the Texas Legislature as the Bed and Breakfast Capital of Texas, which is featured in another visitjefferson.com video. It is not at all unusual to see townspeople in antebellum attire strolling the sidewalks or hear the steady gait of horse-drawn carriages going by on the old brick streets. Jefferson, the old riverport on the bayou, has been reborn, baptized in the history and glory of its bygone days. Jefferson is located in northeast Texas and attracts visitors from all over. It's only 1 hour from Shreveport or from Texarkana. It's 3 hours from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, from Little Rock, or from Hot Springs, Arkansas, and depending on traffic, only 4 hours away from Houston. It's also only a couple hours from the Oklahoma border, so we get visits from everywhere. Some come for the city's events, while others look for a quiet, peaceful B&B experience, just to spend a relaxing weekend away from the madness of everyday life. And Jefferson can certainly provide that. Others come for the lakes. We have Lake of the Pines just to the west, and Caddo Lake to the east. Both have camping and boat launching facilities, and both are beautiful in their own individual ways. So whether you come to fish, antique, shop, dine, or immerse yourself in history, Jefferson is a wonderful destination for a weekend, for several days, or like my wife and I decided to do, for a lifetime. If you'd like to delve deeper into the fascinating history of Jefferson, you can pick up my book, Jefferson, The History and Mystery of the City on the Bayou. It's available on Amazon or at several of the shops in Jefferson. It answers so many more questions like, who are the two guys that founded the city, and why do the streets in their two sections of town run at angles to each other? And many, many more. This is one of the favorite books I've written, and because of my love for the city, I put my heart and soul into it. You can also check out some of the other videos on visitjefferson.com. If you'd like, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll be notified every time that a new video goes up on the channel. And some great ones are on the way. And that's all that happens when you subscribe, by the way. You're not put on any weird email list. You don't have to provide your age and shoe size and weird things like that. Nope, just tells you when we get a new video. Also, we'd love it if you would like this video by hitting the little thumbs up below. I know that every YouTube video asks this same thing, but it really does help a little channel like visitjefferson.com. The YouTube overlords pay attention to that kind of thing, so we really, really, really do appreciate it. Well, thanks so much for watching this video on the city of Jefferson, and it has so much to offer that I hope to be seeing you around Jefferson soon. Thanks. I appreciate it.